Next 45 minutes, we're going to have the author of Tejo Tungabhadra, Vasudhendra, in conversation with Edith Melo Furtado. May I invite both of you up here, please? This is a book that I've been meaning to read since it came out, and I've finally got a copy. I'm looking forward to this discussion. Edith will give a more detailed introduction to Vasudhendra, but I think Edith herself needs an introduction. She taught at the Department of French and Francophone Studies, Goa University. Her PhD thesis was on the Francophone women writers of Quebec. She has worked on Goan writing in Portuguese and been a member of the academic project Pensando Goa. Her publications include the works of Manohar Rai Sardesai, A Meeting Point Between India and France, written both in French and English. She was honored by the French government with the Palme Académique for her contribution to the promotion of French and culture in Goa. Over to you.
Thank you, Gautami, for your introduction. Can you hear me? It's working? Thanks for your introduction. Sometimes we come to know more about ourselves when we are introduced or we are reminded. Anyway, thank you very much. And welcome to each and every one here. We have a cross-section, like we've been having for the Lit Fest, of students, professors, writers, artists. It's wonderful. And this happens every year. So today, we have Vasudhendra with us. And before I talk about Vasudhendra, before I say anything about him, let me tell you how's that I came across this big, fat, attractive book. Because, like I told Vasudhendra, it's been years that I had read a novel in 5 days of 450 pages. It's been years. So, yeah, merit goes to him and the merit goes to me also a little bit, because it's not easy. But then I was so taken up by the novel. But more than that, when I was told Tejo and Tungabhadra, I said, what is this? And it was, the culprit is there, Vivek. He gave me this book and he said, can you have a conversation with him? And I looked at the book and then I saw that it was Tejo, the river Tejo, in Portugal. The river I had heard about from my childhood because we were all born Portuguese, but long, long ago we have stopped being Portuguese. So then, but for me it had great attraction because it involved Goa and the connection. And I said, well, this book is for me and I'm going to read it, I'm going to finish it. That's how I managed to get through this book, which is beautiful, and I accepted conversing with Vasudhendra. So I welcome you, Vasudhendra, amidst us, the Goan crowd here, or a mixed crowd, as I said earlier. Now, Vasudhendra is the best-selling author in Kannada literature. And he has some of his work translated into English. Now, before we go into this book, which is the reason for our being here, let me say just a few words about his past, but only this past, professional. What is it that he used to do? He was a graduate with a Bachelor of Engineering. He has a degree in engineering from the National Institute of Technology. He then did a master's degree from the Indian Institute of Science, and he worked as a software professional for 20 years. Now that is a man of science. So, is that correct what I said? If you have anything to add, please go ahead. So now my question is, being a software professional with a heavy pay packet at the end of the month, how's that you took this U-turn? No, I shouldn't use the expression U-turn. It's not very happy these days. So I will say, how's that you turned your attention towards writing? What is it that pulled you to writing? And what is it that made you exchange your successful career for the erratic glory of being a writer? Because when you are a writer, you don't know what's happening at the end of the month, whether you have still something in your pocket or not, right? Depends on the readers. So then, what is it that prompts you to write, Vasudhendra?
Good afternoon. Thanks for that introduction. This is a very, very typical question for me, like you were a software engineer, how come you were writing fiction, and that to historical fiction. So now it's more of a historical fiction. This writing I have not started after stopping my software engineering profession. Okay, so which I'm writing from past, say, 30 years. I'm writing from 1996 onwards. I'm writing fiction. So I was doing a double boat journey, like, put one stuff here and there, and then two boat journey, which I was doing. Once I felt confident that I can live on my own with books and with my earnings, so I said it's enough. See, what happens is you will recognize your passion, what makes you happy at any time. So it could be at 27, it could be at 30, it could be at 40. You have to recognize your passion. Once you identify your passion, then start working towards it. Whether it returns back you money or not is immaterial for us. Passion means anything, any activity which makes you happy. I realized that writing gives me most happiness, and I feel very, very thrilled when I write a short story.
And it gives us also
it
to read
gives
you.
very high. Though software industry is good, it returned me a lot of things, especially on the financial side. But corporate world and the fiction writing doesn't go hand in hand. Mm-hmm. That's different, and this is different. When layoff is going on, so they find out who is pregnant woman and they will lay off her first.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you have to give the maternity leave. Being involved in all this management kind of decision. So that won't gel well with your fiction. If you are a fiction writer, you like to be truthful to yourself. Yeah, so you have some value system in you. So that's how things are. So I recognize my passion quite late. So almost like 27 years. When I was 27, 28 years, I realized I can write and I can live happily.
That's not late.
Yeah, it was quite okay. I feel it's quite late because we have, in fact, like Schanberg here, they are all scholars by 16, 17, 18 years. They had come up with their first work. Okay, according to this, for me it's late, but it's okay. But what happens is most of your passions cannot return you the financially sound income which you can live on your own. So many of in India, that's the case, right? Especially Kannada writing doesn't give you so much. So I had to do 2 lives actually. So live in corporate world and do this work as well. And finally, once you are confident, okay, I have enough, and I would like to lead a simple life. I don't need a luxury life. So I need a simple life, but I would like to live with my passion. Then it's okay. So you can come to anything. And fiction, anyone can write, whether you are a software engineer, whether you are a doctor or anyone, because it doesn't require any educational background. Our people who are uneducated have told beautiful stories. Our folklore has come from an uneducated, I don't want to call it uneducated, but it's typical education. They have told such beautiful stories. What stops me telling stories, right? So I can definitely tell. So only thing is, I should not look at money as my primary criteria in my life when I'm, whatever the work which I am doing, then you will go to the passion. So that's how I'm there in the passion. But luckily, my book sells very well in Kannada now. I'm a publisher as well. All my books I publish myself.
Have your own publishing
so
house.
I have quite sufficient returns now.
Oh,
For
great.
my books. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So, Vasudhendra, your books in translation are Tejo Tungabhadra, The Unforgiving City, and Mohanaswamy, right? Yeah. These are the three books, yes. Other than these, Vasudhendra has to his credit, as he has said, loads of literature in Kannada. So, this one was published in 2019. Is
Kannada,
that
it was
correct?
published in 2019.
Okay.
In
The
English,
translation,
translation
yes.
came in 2023.
22 by
22
Maitri
September,
Karnoor. Yeah, and it's a beautiful translation. It's really worth reading. Would you care to tell us something at least about your other works in translation in English?
Okay, the one is Mohanaswamy's pretty well-known book than this actually. It's about coming out of...
Well-known way? In Kannada
India,
or in
India.
in English? The English literature,
actually.
the translation.
English, that has been sold more because
Okay.
it was stories of a gay man and especially a countryside gay man in India, which was very rare in Kannada. Yeah, it means it's in any of the Indian languages, it was very rare. It was like almost like 11 years back I wrote that book. So 2013 I wrote that book in Kannada. Right, so that time it was unheard of actually. So any Kannada,
So much earlier, much before this one.
how much before this one?
Okay, I thought this was
very,
your
very
first.
earlier book. 2013 I published. So that got attention, more attention across India because of its subject. You know, like someone writing gay stories in a Indian language is very rare. Actually, and also I was coming out. I'm a out and proud gay. So that I would like to tell. And in fact, I had discussed about it here as well in 2017. I think 2017 I was here to discuss about Mohanaswamy. So that gave me lot of fame actually at that time. So it's about that actually. It's about
Any negative fame or
no, it wasn't negative.
it was well accepted?
Well accepted, especially English.
Okay.
In Kannada, they were afraid actually even to speak about that book. It was very few people who talked about it. Later on when it came in English, it was celebrated there as well. Okay, so that's how it was. And in fact, the reason for writing this is, after Mohanaswamy was, everyone started identifying me as a gay author, as if that's the only identity I have.
Yes.
Okay, so any literature festival I was invited, it was only for LGBT subject. Nothing other than that. No, I have already written 13 books by then. So by the time I wrote Mohanaswamy, it was already 13 books. And people know me very well that I write all other subjects so well. So, but this English word knew only the Mohanaswamy. So they were inviting me only for the gay-related discussion. Nothing wrong. I'm proud. I speak even today in all colleges, everywhere. So I speak about the sexuality. But that's not a limitation for me, so I'm bigger than that. So then I said, I'm going to write a book where my personal experiences will not be there at all. I am not there in that book at all. So what should I do? I thought, let me go for history. 500 years back history. So 500 years back, definitely I am not there. I have to imagine everything, right? So that's how Tejo Tungabhadra started. I'm a software engineer. I was so worried whether I should write a historical fiction or not, because most of the historical fiction writers are professors in Kannada. At least, so they have studied history or they have taught history, and that kind of people we see in Kannada. I said whether I should write this or not. Then I realized, as a software engineer, I have studied so many complicated subjects like Java. I know object-oriented programming, I know C#, everything I know. If I can master those subjects, computer-based subjects, why not history? History is also another subject. So let me start. So I started and I succeeded. Now this book is pretty popular in Kannada now. More than 15 reprints have taken place in 3 years. That too in Corona time. So more than 15 reprints have taken place of this book, because I'm the publisher. I have the statistics in hand. Okay, so I sold quite well actually. This book I have sold and given me a lot of money also. So that way, there is no limitation for you. And also this fun thing is like I have not visited Lisbon also, and not seen a Jew also. I had not come to Goa properly before that. I had not seen everything, but everything is covered in that.
It is.
And it works well. Most of the Indian authors have a limitations of writing what we know, which is wrong. Try to write something you don't know. If a British man come to India and make a film on Gandhi, why not I write a novel about the Europeans?
Yes.
So that is the courage I took. I should be in a position to convince them also. Finally, it's all question about people. The people are same all across the world. Once you know that, it's very easy. Writing a novel is very easy. You should know everyone is same. Same problems there also. So whatever the problems I see today in India, I see the same problems was there with the Jews, especially in Portugal, in Lisbon, 500 years back. Exactly same situation they have faced. Minority problem. The same minority problems we are seeing in India as well now. Yes. So you don't have to put limitations to your imagination power. It is infinite. It can make miracles which even you will be surprised that could I write such kind of a subject. So now I'm writing a 2nd century novel actually. 2nd century novel where India is not involved. It involves China, Uzbekistan, Afghanistan, and then Iran, Iraq, Italy. So that's the subject of my new novel which I'm writing. So there is no limitations. You should just write it. Even if someone comes and tells me that Lisbon was not like this, they are minority. How many people will know Lisbon?
And Lisbon of those days.
500 years old Lisbon, even now the present Lisbon citizen also will not know about it, how it was. So he will also read it like a story. You should believe in the power of the storytelling and imagination, and you should have courage for that. Courage is very important. So I am ready to write anything of any country and any place. So that courage I have developed after writing the Tejo Tungabhadra. And now people think me as more as a historian, not just as a gay man.
So at this point precisely, I would like to inform you all that this book, it has its 450 pages because it covers a period from late 14th century to the, somewhere in the 16th century.
Yeah.
So that was the time when the Portuguese were at the height of their glory, of their maritime discoveries. And they also had, the Renaissance was in full swing in Europe. So the Portuguese were very much, and I would say that both Vasco da Gama and Albuquerque were men of the Renaissance. So, and all these ships and all these maritime adventures started from the Rio Tejo. it started from that particular river, which is so significant, and therefore it is so significant in your book, okay? And so he has, Vasudhendra has written this book with Tejo on one hand, and on the other hand, it is the empire of Vijayanagara.
Yeah, Tungabhadra River.
And the Tungabhadra River, so both the rivers running sort of parallel in his imagination, and having beautiful stories of human conflict, about which we will find out a little bit so that you can buy the book outside afterwards. And so this is just to put the book in perspective. But there is one question that I would like to ask you, is that the contemporary Indian novel is, what I learned is that the modern Indian novelists, the contemporary, the younger ones, they no longer they choose to write about these big novels, the post-colonial novels like Salman Rushdie, like Amitav Ghosh and Vikram Chandra. So they prefer to remain in their, in their regional domains with small subjects and so on. But they feel that's more, whatever they feel, more comfortable, more relevant. So I was just wondering what made you write historical fiction going back to all those years. There has to be something that has pulled you back. Yeah. And why you have not written like the current trend is, maybe you're not a man to follow trends. You have your own. Yeah. So what is it?
Yeah, no, I have almost 6 short story collections and 6 essay collections I have written. All of them are contemporary only. So I have written all the contemporary subject in it. It's like I was tired of contemporary. See, the history is it's very challenging. If you are try to write 50 years back history, it's very dangerous, because there are people who will recognize what was there, what is it. Accuracy becomes so important. You go behind another 100 years, it becomes easy, because no documentation is available, so much of documentation, no proper historical books are there. You go for 500 years old to some extent. Now I'm writing, I said, 2000 years old history, it's very easy, because hardly any documentation, even historians struggle. What happened? So imagination is much easier for you actually. So that
I'm not so sure if there are history professors here, they might catch you outside.
No, that they can catch. I'm also become a history professor now. So I read so much of history. So many historians come and discuss with me also on many subjects now. Okay. So it's something like that. The history is fascinating. What happens is if I can tell you in a metaphorical way, I never believe in religious practices. Means I don't do shraddha, karma, pitru paksha for my parents. My parents are no longer there. 25 years back they passed away. So while writing this book, I am writing a 500 years old story. I felt my forefathers are there in this.
Okay.
So there are so many forefathers of many of us who are there in this book. So once I finished this book, I felt I did a proper Pitru Paksha. Okay, it's like a tribute to my seniors. They are the people, someone should be there, my relative should be there in this novel. I don't know. I have written about them. So what else? So I felt very good about it. What best way is there to do a Pitru Paksha other than writing a story about them? So I wrote that feeling I got, satisfaction I got. It's history is addictive. Once you start reading and once you start writing about history, you get addicted to it. I read more history books than anything else these days. Maybe you need to come out of that as well. So that's also a challenge. You have to come out of the history also. It's not right always to write about historical fictions.
Yeah, so I was wondering if you are in any way, whether you were connected with Indo-Portuguese history, because you have brought together this faraway river in Portugal and the Tungabhadra in India. And how did you do this massive historical research? Because there's nothing that you have left out, actually. I was just looking at it. There's nothing that you have left out. You have not missed any detail of an entire epoch, you know. And like you have described the life of the Jews in Portugal, something that very few of us know here. Then there are all these details about Vasco da Gama and Afonso de Albuquerque in their ships, what used to happen. Of course, there might be some records and whatever that you might have consulted or not, I don't know. Then the persecutions in Portugal against the Jews, all this anti-Semitism that started way back. And also you have described the conditions of women in Vijayanagara in those days, okay? And so I was just wondering, how did you achieve all this?
Yeah, I think I'll tell you, because the Tejo Tungabhadra, first I'll answer that. Why I choose that is, so I was wondering, what are the witness for my story? Even present day, still they should be alive, who have seen all the story of my characters, okay, they have, I have a proof. Then I felt either it should be mountains or it should be rivers. They are alive till today. So naming the book in the name of a river, two rivers of two countries is the best, is what I thought. And second thing is, why the Portuguese history fascinates. See, till this book I have written, I had never read any history books. So only for this I started reading. History was the most boring subject for me in the school days, you know, so I haven't got good marks in history. So because the school history will be always boring, they make it not interesting at all. But history is quite interesting. So what happened is that one thing which we need to observe here, the record keeping or documentation of the history is best in Europe.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Not in India. Okay? So Indians who have ignored the history keeping, record keeping, or even if you have any history, we have spoken about only the kings, queens, warriors and wars, and also it's cooked up stories. But when I go to the Portuguese, it's not the case. They have got the common man details so much. Right?
Records.
I was fascinated. So much information is available about the Portuguese.
Where did you get this information from?
Books. I checked the books. I mean, in the internet, I checked the books. Where available. Many books are not available in India.
Can you tell us for how long you did your research?
4 years.
4 years.
Day and night, only that.
That's
so
a long time.
reading. That's all I did, actually. So it was so scary. Like, I didn't know where to stop. Like, you know, somewhere
you could have done a PhD.
Start writing.
You could have done a PhD.
No, few people are already doing PhD on my book. I don't have to do a PhD. So many are doing PhD on my book. So what I said is like, so those documentation fascinated me. How Vasco da Gama's arrival, everyday details has been documented by chroniclers. And I can get the information of the dress of a common man, or food style of a common man, or so what he was, the festivals of a common man in Portuguese, so easily documented. But when I come here to the Indian history, which is my own, I don't have even one line diagram or a picture of Krishna Devaraya, same period. Mm-hmm. We don't have that. Such a big king compared to what manual was. But manual details are there, Vasco da Gama details are there, Albuquerque details are there. They have maintained it, we should respect them. Right? So that's what fascinated me. And also, you need to understand that Indians had stopped going across the ocean. They were not keen, actually. During the Chola period, it was very high. During the Vijayanagara period and all, they were all wealthy. They had stopped going to other countries and doing a trading by ship, you know, so going all the way to the other countries and finding out and all. But these people, Portuguese and Spanish people, they were very keen. They built the ships. They call it as now. Now yes. Is a Portuguese name.
Now it's a ship.
Their ship, Portuguese ship, Nav is from Nave, so it is from Sanskrit only. So Sanskrit, there is a Nave, Nav is Sanskrit word. That's what they used in their Portuguese also. So they built the ship. You have to remember, ships are the like ultra modern equipments of those days. You know, the technology, like we say that, oh, we have such a high-speed internet, or a spaceship. We talk about all the submarines we talk, right? Just like that, the ships were the latest and the fastest moving instrument, because they had what? Only horse was the fastest for them. It was moving better than horse. The speed was much bigger, more than the horse. So they were all fascinated by the ship. Actually, everyone used to talk about ships in Europe, especially these two, Portuguese and Spain. After 100 years only others came up, British, French and all. But these two were very keen on the ships, and they come all the way to India, which is like a 24,000 miles without power. There's no power. Only power is wind power. Using the wind power, they have come all the way to India, smelling the spice. Their nose was very good. Excellent nose they had.
Now,
they come all the way, just smelling the spice.
One question, excuse me for breaking in. Gautami is showing me the time. I've asked her to. One thing I wanted to ask you, what was your purpose in doing this? Was it pure history, or did you have any social awareness in mind, or was it art for art's sake?
No, it is like...
Because many write art for art's sake. What was it?
No, without any intention, I went writing this particular novel. But what happens is, whatever the history you write, it will be a contemporary work. Because you are a contemporary mind. You are living in this particular period. The one particular subject which comes very importantly in this chapter is Krishnadevaraya comes and renames some of the cities. They are all Shivapura. He makes them Krishnapura. You know, so much of arrogance should be there. Shaiva is one religion, Vaishnava is another religion. There is a Shaiva god there, and that's why they have put it as Shivapura. And now we are coming here because you are the king of the this thing, and changing that name suddenly as Krishnapura. So which I thought is the same thing we are doing now. We are renaming the cities. Exactly same. I could recall everything, and women's situation was the worst in Vijayanagara period. Okay, so she was asked to jump into the fire because of the sati, or she was buried alive along with her husband. And you all, those who are in Goa, should know one information, should be very proud of it, as Goa is the first place in the history of India where sati was banned by Albuquerque. Okay, in 1510 he banned sati in this thing. After him only Akbar. Next person who banned sati is Akbar. So only person who comes from outside only can see the problems of ours.
That's why your character comes to Goa.
Oh, very good.
Takes refuge in Goa.
Yes. So I was fascinated by that. Oh, my goodness, he's coming all the way and he's realizing that it's not correct. But we were not realizing that sati is a bad practice. Our poets have not written so much against the sati practice at all.
True.
So why didn't they write? Was the question for me. So like those are the things which when I am writing, all these contemporary issues started popping in. That's
So
why I'm
was
able
it
to write.
social awareness that you wanted to bring in?
Yeah, I'm I'm the contemporary person, so even if I write Mahabharata today, I will have all the contemporary issues. If Khandava Dahana comes, I will be hating that. Unnecessarily burning a forest, which was a rich forest, and constructing Indraprastha. As a sensitive author, I have to hate that. If you support Krishna and Arjuna in building the Indraprastha, means you are not a contemporary author. You cannot have that. So that awareness will be always there for me when I'm writing the story. So those you can see throughout. Actually, it's there throughout in the book everywhere.
So even though it's historical fiction, it is not about history per se, but about the human being.
Yeah, any story you write will be about human beings only. You cannot write anything. Even if you write Panchatantra, you talk about so much about Panchatantra is the most beautiful book I have ever read. Okay, so you also should read. Even in Panchatantra, what we are doing is we are putting the human values in all these animals and we are making them to play. right?
True.
So we cannot tell story of anything else other than human beings only. Okay, so that we should be aware, and that's why we can tell story of any period, any mythological this thing, fantasy elements, anything you can write, but you should talk about human beings actually. So that's enough. Yeah, that's what I feel.
So a book with so much in it, I would like to know what is the impact of this book in India, because India, each one has their own language, and yours is in Kannada, but now it's been translated into English. Has it helped to spread the awareness of this book and the readership across the country?
Yeah. So
And
see,
what about, has it resonated abroad? That's also what I wanted to know.
few things I know. So Kannada and Telugu I know very well. It has been translated to Telugu, Kannada and English. Now Malayalam edition is coming, and Marathi and Hindi are coming
wonderful.
in this thing. So it's there. Everyone has purchased the rights now. So what I could see is many of them have messaged me in Kannada saying that now we started liking history after reading the book. You should have been our history professor. So this is the first message they sent to me. You should have been our history professor. We would have enjoyed the history. We thought it's a very boring subject. No, it's very interesting subject. So that's the compliments which I got. I'm very happy about it. So and I assume that might be the case with English, because English, not many people contact with the author, because there is author and reader contact is very less there. They don't give any contact details and other things. So it's little less actually.
Okay.
But in Telugu also, they people called me, invited me there, and I spoke with Telugu people, and I can speak fluent Telugu. In Telugu also there was no problem. So absolutely they are like very happy with the book. Yeah. So people get awareness about what our history is. In fact, why people, if you think back in I think in 1998. Our politicians wanted to celebrate 500 years of Vasco da Gama success. You know, like afterwards historians went and told us, don't do, he was like a villain for India. He did so much of crime coming to Cochin. He did so much of crime. Nothing against Portuguese, but that as a person, he did so much crime in India. He burned alive a ship. So many Muslim people who were returning from Makkah, along with the kids, small babies and all, he burned them alive. So what kind of celebration you are going to do? 500 year celebration of Vasco da Gama.
Yes.
So even politicians will not be aware of it.
Yes.
But luckily my book was read by politicians also. So they were very happy. Many of the Kannada politicians, they called me and congratulated me for this book. Especially during the Corona period, they were all Corona attacked, and so they started reading my in the hard days. Yeah.
So, you know, you have such a complex structure in this book. Like you have very complex relationships described, and a whole panoply of characters.
Yeah.
So many of them. You have all these temple priests, devadasis, hijras, artisans, artists, families, each one with their different roles, etc. So I would like to know, how did you organize yourself? And I'm saying this for the good of so many who are here, young writers, you know, budding writers and full-fledged writers. We would like to learn from you. How did you manage to put all this together? Because there are hundreds of characters.
See, while reading the history, the way a fiction writer reads history is very different than a historian reads it. So while reading the history, some small elements shake you a lot. So for me, for example, when I was reading the travelogue of Vijayanagara travelers, you know, like the 3-4 of them, they come during the Vijayanagara period. When they are explaining the sati practices, okay, they say women go laughing and enjoying and then jump into the fire. That's the details which they are given. I said, what kind of details are they? Like, how could a woman go a happy mode and jump into the fire, which is so sad for a culture of us. Actually, no, India, it's not a great thing to be proud of. I said, while reading that, I said, my heroine is going to run away from the sati.
And she does.
That is the first thing which came into my mind. She has to run away. She should not.
But she doesn't run away out of fear. She runs away because she's pregnant.
Pregnant. So that's some reason I had to give why
Okay.
she wants to run away.
Okay.
But does the running away means
Okay.
she wants to live. A feminist would like to live. She doesn't want to die. So that I knew very clearly.
For a man, you mean?
Huh?
For a man.
Not for anyone. So for herself, okay? So anybody, the life is the most important thing. So, living is the most important thing than any other achievements in life, right? So that, otherwise there is another character which was coming, it's quite fascinating, is like the one who was the lawyer or the judge of Vijayanagara period, one of the judge was a Hisda.
Yeah.
I said these Hisdas were quite powerful. We don't, now we are celebrating when a trans woman becomes she gets one government job, we are celebrating as it's a great achievement. But during that Vijayanagara period, so they were judges, they were sitting and they were warriors. That fascinated me. I said that character has to come in my book.
Just a question before we open it to the audience, since we are running out of time. Was women's condition one of your concerns? Is it?
Yeah, very much. Women concern was very high, so that comes out throughout. And also you should see the similarity between the women condition in Portuguese and in India.
Yes.
No difference.
Yeah.
There also woman has been suppressed, and here also woman has been suppressed. In both the places, whether it is Portuguese or it's no, in fact it's worse there compared to here. So that kind of details gives you an idea what should cover. Otherwise you would not have written that with without modern sensibility you don't bring up those subjects, kind of a thing, right?
Yes.
So while reading the history, these things are very important. Most importantly, a fiction writer, when he is reading the history, he should not make any notes.
Okay.
When you are making notes, you are becoming a historian. Only for us the feelings should be there, and that through that the imagination should come into picture. If you start recording everything, this is what happened, this is what happened, this is what happened, you will end up in writing a history book and not a fiction, most probably. Yeah, that's my belief. Okay, that's why I have read so many books, like each book 3-4 times actually, and I didn't make even a single line note of that particular incident or what is to be required and all. But while writing, it automatically comes to you. You have read something there, so suddenly it comes there. Like there's one character of a sage. Okay, a sage. His only job was they say like he used to kill a particular animal. While killing the animal, he will tell like he has got a pipe, I think, some kind of an instrument, musical instrument, so that he used to blow it. So blow it and used to make big noise. And that traveler says, I am going to tell about this particular character a little later, and he has forgotten. He has forgotten to tell about the character. He didn't write anything. All historians scripts about it. So why didn't you miss it? Why did you miss it? You should have given me more details about it. So I said, I am here to tell more about it. So I bought that character. So I am a fiction writer, so I can extend that character to any level. So that's how
wonderful, Vasudhendra. So all this, there's a lot of freedom.
And you have the freedom.
Thank you.
As a fiction writer, you have a lot of freedom and lot of responsibility as well, along with the freedom.
Okay, now I throw it open to our audience, which seems to be much, involved in what's going on. If you would like to ask Vasudhendra questions, please do.
Yes, sir.
Specific to Vijayanagara, but I was wondering if because Vijayanagara was completely destroyed, was it because of that the history was lost? You were saying that there's a lot of places in India where there's no history of a period. Is it because of the invasions and destruction, or is it just
see, the culture of documenting common man history was missing in India. What we had is like the culprit is Ramayana and Mahabharata. Okay, so Ramayana and Mahabharata became so big in India, such a big epics. Whatever you write, you have to write only about that was the condition for us. It's very rare that someone starts writing about a common man. In fact, there is one author in Kannada called Raghavanka. He wrote about Harishchandra. Satya Harishchandra. So he wrote about Harishchandra Kavya. That's a beautiful poetry. Because here he has not written about the god and he has written about a common man, he gets punishment from his uncle. So that is the feeling these people had. You know, so that you should write only Ramayana and Mahabharata, nothing other than that. Maximum you write about your king. We didn't had this history writing practice in India. Only thing which I mean indirectly I will get some of the things. So I'll tell you how I indirectly had to read history. Indian history means, see, there is a Hampi Vijayanagara, Vithala temple. Okay, Vithala temple is one of the most important temple. In Vithala temple, they have a schedule for each day what should be given as a naivedya to the god. In that, I have idali. Idli means idli. They used to give one day to idali. Another day, they used to give dosa to that god. So now I know that people knew idli and dosa during that time. So I had to bring my dosa practice in my novel. So I said, like, I had to. So like that, you have to read indirectly, but not directly. Okay, or in our Kumaravasa, so when he has written Mahabharata, so Mahabharata in the same period he writes Mahabharata, what he does is, for everyone in Mahabharata character, whether it is Draupadi, whether it's Arjuna or Karna, Krishna, each one will give a pan to the other person, chew the pan. And there was no pan in Mahabharata period. This betel leaf itself came in 2nd century to India. Where is the question of pan in those periods? So there is no Mahabharata period, there is no pan. Okay, but everywhere they have introduced the pan eating, pan chewing. I know Vijayanagara period had a lot of pan eating. This thing, so that practice was there. So indirect reading is very important for fictional writers. So like reading in between line, we say, no. So that's what it is. Yeah, I finished.
And I think we have finished. I don't know. One more minute, maybe, if someone wants to ask.
Last question. It's
One last. Desperately last. Okay. So
Okay.
yeah. So actually, there were beautiful extracts that we wanted to read, and there was something else that we
I knew there won't be time.
But there's no time. So I thank you very much, Vasudhendra, for giving us an opportunity to go into this beautiful book of yours, which I'm sure there'll be lots and lots of readers for it, and especially among the young ones. I hope they kind of do their little research. And thank you, wonderful audience.
Yeah.
For this
Thank you very
time
much for
with
this
us.
opportunity, especially Vivek and Golf. I would like to thank them especially for giving me this opportunity. And youngsters, definitely you have to read your history. Okay, so you can read your other Harry Potter series, no problem. But more important is your history books actually. So history you read in one form or another form. It's very, very important and it's good for this country.
Thank you. That was delightful. We can always read the book, but hearing you talk is a whole different point.